your question to suggest that that is emblematic of the men and women of the Department of Homeland Security is despicable.
I'm sorry, what have you done? This person works for the Department of Homeland Security. Have you fired her?
Things got real nasty this morning between Senator Josh Hawley and the Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorka. But the Secretary got the last word, leaving Hawley pretty hot. Welcome into TYT Overruled. I am your host, Adrienne Lawrence.
May your conscience haunt your dreams until your last breath. Palestine will be free one day. F apartheid Israel and is any Israeli. This is pretty extreme rhetoric, don't you think?
At this morning's Senate Appropriations hearing on additional funding for Israel and Ukraine, Senator Josh Hawley came at Secretary Mayorka about social media posts by one of the many employees working for Homeland Security.
Senator, I do, and I think there is a distinction between espousing or endorsing terrorist ideology and speech that is odious, that does not rise to that level.
Fair enough.
Hawley's comments had Mayorkas fuming. The two-time secretary had a few things to say.
What have you done about this?
4 things I'd like to say to you. Number one, your question to suggest that that is emblematic of the men and women of the Department of Homeland Security is despicable.
I'm sorry, what have you done? This person works for the Department of Homeland Security. Have you fired her?
That was 1 of 4 answers.
While Secretary Mayorkas couldn't get in a word, Hawley changes the subject to anti-Semitism faced by Jewish students.
Have you fired her?
1.
Have you fired her? Don't come to this hearing room when Israel has been invaded and Jewish students are barricaded in libraries in this country and cannot be escorted out because they are threatened for their lives. You have employees who are celebrating genocide, and you are saying it's despicable for me to ask the question? Has she been fired?
Despite Hawley's attacks, the secretary was going to get in his answer.
Number 2.
Why has she not been fired?
Number 2, the individual was hired in 2019.
Why has she not been fired?
Number 3, I cannot speak to an ongoing personnel matter.
Why has this person not been fired? Your answer is you can't speak to it? This isn't sufficient to fire her?
I am not in a position to speak to an ongoing personnel matter.
This isn't sufficient to fire her? That's what you're telling me?
That is not what I'm saying.
But she's still on your payroll as we sit here today.
That is not what I'm saying.
She's still on your payroll as we sit here today.
Senator?
How many cases? She was an asylum and immigration officer. How many cases did she adjudicate?
Senator, I'm not in a position to speak about an ongoing personnel.
I'm not asking about that. I'm asking you how many cases she adjudicated.
My answer remains.
This is one out of more than 260,000 employees, mind you. And this person hasn't committed any crime. Although Hawley seems to think her support of Palestine is a crime.
So I think the American people deserve to know, has she admitted, contrary to law, individuals who should not be in this country or denied Jewish refugees whose genocide she's advocating asylum that they deserve?
Same answer.
Hawley, of course, had to lean into his lecturing of Secretary Mayorkas.
Quite frankly, Mr. Secretary, I think that your performance is despicable. And I think the fact that you are not willing to provide answers to this committee is absolutely atrocious.
Hawley went a bit too far, however, with this contrived messaging. Mayorkas did not take well to the senator suggesting that he put Jewish people in jeopardy.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
If you'd like to have a minute to respond, you are welcome to.
I would, and I'm not sure I'll limit it to 60 seconds.
That's fine.
Number one, what I found despicable is the implication that this language, tremendously odious, actually it could be emblematic of the sentiments of the 260,000 men and women of the Department of Homeland Security. Number one. Number two, Senator Hawley takes an adversarial approach to me in this question, and perhaps he doesn't know my own background. Perhaps he does not know that I am the child of a Holocaust survivor. Perhaps he does not know that my mother lost almost all her family at the hands of the Nazis. And so I find his adversarial tone to be entirely misplaced. I find it to be disrespectful of me and my heritage, and I do not expect an apology, but I did want to say what I just articulated. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I just respond since he has referenced me personally?
Senator Hawley, we need to move on.
Well, how do you think Hawley felt? Any regret that he didn't peep Mayorkas' wiki page before trying to lecture the man on anti-Semitism? You let me know your thoughts in the comments below, hit those like and follow buttons, and thanks for watching.